Hey guys, Nick here, and today we are getting into the introduction of Alexandria and the continued search still for Sophia, who we know is alive, if you haven't been paying attention to the series. And with all that, and the rumor about Sophia possibly, at least to Rick's group, being the one who was saved by another group and is the right hand, how will this rumor and whatever truths Alexandria might be hiding affect the rest of the story? This is part 15 to What If Sophia Joined Negan. Now, the entrance to Alexandria, besides the whole Sophia rumor thing and all that, pretty much plays as you would expect. Not too many changes outside of more characters and different characters having different character development. We then get to the Rick interview, and like I said, that would pretty much remain unchanged. Except, during the interview, Rick brings up, does the community have Sophia? Not that he doesn't think Aaron's telling the truth, but with the supposed rumor of her being out there, maybe with another group, he was thinking that meant he doesn't know what to believe. She could be here hiding, she could be with another group. It's all a jangled mess, and they've been looking for her so long that Rick doesn't even know what's real about her anymore. Deanna answers the questions calmly and respectfully by saying that no girl named Sophia has ever been a part of the community, but she does point out that Aaron was telling the truth when he said that there's been rumors about a girl that was saved by another group. Now, Deanna, like Aaron, says that they know nothing besides those rumors. It's not really anything too major right now. And with that, everything else goes pretty much per normal. Glenn and Aiden have their scuffle, except there's no Noah. It would just be like T-Dog or something. Rick and Shane, since Shane's still around, would get the police jobs. And as for everybody else, I kind of don't really point out any more of the jobs, because for characters that would, from the original story, be here and all my other stories, they would get the same jobs. And for new characters, new survivors, they would get jobs best fitted for their character, which I'll touch more a little bit more later in the story. Not too much a need for most of them, though. Speaking of jobs and all that other stuff, Glenn and Aiden are still going to go out on their run, and Tara's there, so she's going to go too. But as I said, T-Dog is going to replace Noah here, because really, none of my stories really made the hospital arc happen, so Noah's just nothing in any of my stories, really. Not much to do regarding him. So anyway, T-Dog takes the place, and usually it's either been him, Tyrese, or Bob that's taken the place. But anyways, that's not the only change. Beth, Daryl, and Merle all go along for the rides. So we have even more people, plus Eugene. So we have even more people here. And the three of them, Beth, Daryl, and Merle, are also going to look for Sophia, obviously. And this also means, with the likes of them around, this means that Nicholas and Aiden are going to be much better controlled and won't do anything stupid. So there's not going to be any grenade blowing up or anything like that. So this means that Tara does not get injured, which isn't really too much of a bigger change since she lived anyway, but it's still worth pointing out that she doesn't get injured here. And also means that nobody's going to die in the doors, because as I said, Nicholas and Aiden would be controlled here because of Beth, Daryl, and Merle's influence. Daryl and Merle more than Beth, but it's still worth pointing out more people means better survival. Well, that's kind of obvious anyway, but still. Anyways, next big thing is that Father Gabriel wouldn't rant the group out. Why is this? Well, you see, because they came to Father Gabriel and asked about Sophia, and they have tried this long, so long to look for her, this makes Father Gabriel very, very comfortable with Rick's group, much more so than his original counterpart, who didn't really trust them until probably the beginning of season 6. So, yeah, Father Gabriel's going to be a lot more content and laid back, and much better to be able to fit in with the group than his original counterpart. And this also puts Deanna at ease because nobody's told her anything negative about the group. She knows about their continued search for Sophia and what it means to all of them, especially Carol and Rick. So she's not going to have any suspicion about Rick's group whatsoever. Carol and Sam would also meet, but I feel that Carol would not steal the guns here. Sure, they're going to have probably still doubts about the community defending itself, but I feel that if she did steal guns, it would be like just one maybe, but I really find it doubtful. She would probably meet Sam another way and get really acquainted with him. And once she finds out about Pete like she did originally, she confronts the matter herself because of Sophia possibly still being out there and knowing what Ed did to her and Sophia. Puts a different mindset on her, and that means that she is actually going to confront Pete personally because of this. And we would see an interaction with her and Pete, sort of like how after Rick beat up Pete and everything else, and then Carol threatened him, sort of like that. And she would also talk to Jesse much like Rick did, and pretty much everything that Rick did, except for not, causing a huge scene like Rick did. Deanna sees that Carol is leading Pete out of the house at knife point, and everybody comes out to see what the crap's going on. Even though this isn't a big commotion like when Rick fought Pete, it's still worth pointing out that it is a little sketchy. Carol says that she did this because Pete needs to be stopped, and she had been in talking to Sam and everything else, and then eventually found out that this happened. And she confronted him right away, so she doesn't know that they knew. So this is all spur of the moment. Carol also says that her daughter, who is still probably out there alive, her real father, dating back to the beginning of the apocalypse, and her old husband Ed, he was an abuser to not only her, but her daughter. And seeing this kind of stuff happen in the case of Sam and Jesse, it's not right. And Pete needs to be stopped. Even if he's a surgeon and everything else, he needs to be stopped. And if they absolutely cannot kill him, then they need to send him far, far away so that he never comes back. Deanna is actually more understanding of this because Carol's actually reasoning with her in a way that's not crazy like Rick. And with this, she says that they're not going to kill him because we all know how Deanna was with killing, at least until she lost Reg. But she does agree that it's probably for the best that they take him out. They have plenty of people, especially from Rick's group, to cover up the surgeon spot. So this time, losing Pete is not really a problem, like it was in the original story if they were to kick him out. Carol points the knife at Pete again and says that if he ever comes back, she will not hesitate for a second to shoot him or slice him open dead. And with that, Pete, seeing no alternative, is actually forced. He wouldn't do this because Pete was not smart. He did grab the sword and everything to kill Reg, but I think that in this case, he would more or less be forced out. He wouldn't have a choice. So, Pete is kicked from Alexandria. After this, Daryl and Aaron still go on their run, but it's not just to find people, it's to also continue the search for Sophia, Now, while many of others have given up in the group to look for her at this point, since it's been so long, Daryl, Merle, and Beth are 3 of the main ones, besides Carol and Rick, that want to keep looking, especially with rumors, and it feels like they're getting so close. They just have to keep trying. Soon enough, with the 4 of them, they find the trucks and the whole scene with the walker heads with the W's and the walkers with the W's and the wolf trap. Let's just leave it at that, the wolf trap. And then Morgan saves them all, but with 5 total people, I believe that this would allow them to take out all, if not maybe at least half, of the walkers in that area. Granted, there were a bunch, but keep in mind, 2 extra people could mean a great difference here, because it was just Daryl, Aaron, and Morgan first. But here, we have Beth and Merle included, so they could at least probably take out half of the walkers there. Now, Ron is not going to hate Rick. He's going to hate Carol here, but Pete is not dead. But Ron's still going to, dislike Carol, because even though, like I said, Pete's not dead, but he still got kicked from the community. But, speaking of Pete, what's going to happen to him? Since he was more or less forced out far away from the camp, what's going to happen to him now? Well, that's what we're going to find out right here. Pete is trying to find weapons or anything he can in a distant part of the woods a bit away from the community, trying to get his revenge and get back in that community and everything else, when he meets an unexpected someone, Owen the Wolf Leader. And they honestly, the both of them, Pete being very skeptical of this guy, he asks what or who he is. And Owen has a conversation with Pete, sort of like Morgan, sort of like just a normal conversation with a gun aimed at him, which Pete doesn't take too kindly to, but he doesn't care, because he has a plan. He knows that there must be more than one of these guys. So, he agrees to make a deal. He will agree to join their group if they help him get back in the community that he was kicked from. And who knows, it could benefit them too, because it could give them a huge bunch of everything. It's a freaking cornucopia of stuff. Owen does take a minute to consider this, but it is a pretty good idea, because not only would they have another one in their ranks, but they could take over a whole community. So, even though Owen is skeptical of this and surprised that someone like Pete has the guts to even make this kind of deal, he surprisingly agrees. Because I don't think Owen was picky on people joining, because he just seemed like the type to kill. But who knows? He could take anybody. We never really got too much on that part of Owen. But anyways, we all know that Owen was also injured, so this helps him out in that regard. And he says that he agrees, but if Pete tries anything, he will kill him without a second thought. And with that said, Pete officially becomes a member of the Wolves and gets his own W on his head. With Pete joining the Wolves and the continued search for Sophia, how does these two factors play into how the rest of the story will pan out? And how do you guys like the little twist of a little callback to when the governor joined the Claimers? It's sort of like that here with Pete and the Wolves. And the fact that Pete is actually living longer than his original counterpart. With all that said, hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, because that's where we're going to be leaving things for the moment. Hope you guys enjoyed this part of What If Sophia Joined Negan. Hope you've enjoyed What If Sophia Joined Negan as a whole. Definitely a lot to go off of for future parts, especially with so many new plot twists and changes and rumors. It's a lot to take in, which is why the rest of this story is gearing up to be big, even though some parts might not seem like it. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless, and I will see you guys next time.